Good day, everybody. Welcome to our first video of 2026. I am Brian from quantlabsnet.com. Uh, Today is January 2nd. So what I'm about to show you is probably the most difficult project I've done yet. This is involving um, this is involving um, a number of things. So basically, this project architecture and high level I'm about to show you is quite complicated. It's all done in C++, of course, AI generated using Claude 4.5. Without this LLM or model, I don't think I would have gotten anywhere close to where I want to go with it. Because a lot of the other traditional LLMs either circle around the debugging or the quality of code is just not as detailed that you need for that Claude 4.5 Opus generates. So let me show you everything here. Um, yeah. So basically, we've got a project here done in C++. The history of this is basically this is involving a server, client server model. We've got a client, two strategies. This is the newer. I did a C sharp architecture with project. That's not the way to do it. I've converted it to C++ using a client server with Rithmic live API. So I can't, obviously, I cannot talk, and I've said this before, I cannot talk about the Rithmic API at all. Just terms of service will not allow me to do that. So I can't go into detail with that, but I can talk about everything else. So we have that. We have a client server and a risk manager as well. I can add in new clients, which are clients unique strategies, which will then communicate to the server, which is the handler for both all the calls coming in from the client strategies. And then also there's a separate component within that server to communicate with Rithmic API live for both data and execution. A lot of people ask, why not data bento or whatever? Let me tell you, they only do data. With Rithmic, you're getting the execution as well, which is obviously pretty important. So basically, the other thing to highlight here is that I had to uh, first I thought I'd do it in C Lion IDE for C++. That was a difficult move. I then moved into Visual Studio 2026. I got it to a point where I could compile it, but the configuration files are just not working for me. So then I just decided to try it with VS Code. So VS Code worked. I've gone on the past about how I literally hated that IDE VS Code, but going through this process with the LLM of Claude 4.5, Opus has guided me to set it all up and get it actually running, building, completely work. Not, I won't say working, but my goal here is to get it to a runnable state. Everything else beyond this is uh, just configuring files because I moved from Rithmic test to Rithmic live for trading. That enables me to communicate with the Rithmic 01, which is into their Chicago servers via their API. I've gone on about Rithmic as well, so I'm not going to talk about how that works, but I've got other videos on that. So basically, these are the source files. So as I said, we have a client where all the strategy resides. In this case, we're using two custom shown before in C sharp, but these have been, as I said, moved into C++. That's part of the other conversion of that. With C++ alone is a very difficult process. So going from C sharp is an easy process, but moving into C++ is a completely different world. Okay, so understand that. It's more and more complicated. This will only work on Windows because it will connect into the Rithmic, as far as I know, the Rithmic Trader Pro. Um, and you need that connection, no different than interactive brokers with a trader workstation. So we have the client where the strategies are, and then again, this is in this case Nasdaq and futures. These are for the futures and options. as well. Talked about those strategies. We have a new risk manager that showcases things. And then we also have that server that communicates between um, Rithmic for both market data and orders for trading execution, and with the client strategies as well. So that's essentially it. Now, the highlight here is that you need to understand what's included or that's needed in the C++. Now, what I did, I chose ASIO for the communication. And then, of course, there's a Rithmic API as well. So in there, there's a bunch of libraries that are needed coming out of Rithmic, and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So again, this is built for C++ with VS Code, Windows only for now. If people decided to go with the direct market access, um, I think the code should be similar, but the calls into Rithmic is going to be totally different if you decide to go with the direct market access API, the Diamond, and because you're connecting in a different servers, which again are direct market access into the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Aurora data center. Okay, so that's it. Here is what I thought when it comes to VS Code was the difficulty of the configuration files of VS Code. When you initially look at it and you're kind of new moving in from whatever IDE into VS Code, I will tell you it's beyond frustrating. You think that that's all extra bloat. My experience is when I first looked at it, and I thought this is just bloatware, garbage code that you don't need. Using the AI directing me that this is essential for your C++ project from within Visual Studio, VS Code. This is how it's done. It'll include uh, the launch configuration here, the settings for the VS Code, and a bunch of tasks, which include all your headers and libraries. And that can be pretty hairy as C++. So, and then you get all the bug and release mode as well. Again, I would not have gotten to this point without the AI guiding me because, to be honest, VS Code is just beyond confusing if you're going to rely on Microsoft documentation. I would not recommend using at all any Copilot stuff. You will be sitting there for weeks on end trying to figure this out. That's why I said the only one I really think very convincingly that the only one that will work is the plot 4x5. Okay, so let me show you some code here. So this is the architecture. Okay, so in here, I've got a post on my blog going through pretty well everything without showing the source code, um, because of, as I said, the Rithmic API calls. So there's no code snippets if you're looking for that, or any mention of the Rithmic API uh, coding and requirements and all that. So there's that. So let me show you the VS Code structure here. So this is the actual VS Code here. As I said, we've got, I'm not sure if I can upload these to the a membership because I can't, as I said, share the Rithmic coding, API coding. So there's all this. We had to build out a VC package. These are all the libraries needed for both ASIO, the build, and the code itself and the configuration files. So this is the document I want to show you. This is the structure of the project. So here, CMake, I don't think I'm using because it's all Windows. If you do decide to go down the line for any project with Rithmic, let's say the diamond cutter, you're usually going to be using the CMake as well. But because we're now using VS Code, we are using the Microsoft's CL piler and linker. As I said here, we're also including ASIO for the TCP/IP communication between the client server and the risk manager. We also have here the external libraries, which includes the RAPI plus library. And then there's the usual structure you'll find in any project source, include bin for any C++ project. So what we got here is a server. We have async IO as well. communication management component. And there's a subscriber order routing. And the important part here that you have to understand for Rithmic API, if you're going from .NET C Sharp API to the C++, one of the things that they require you to have is a custom built uh, certificate for SSL. That's going to come from Rithmic when you set up your account if you choose to go with the C++ API. Okay, so we have let me show you the client here. We have here the automated strategy, uh, the operations for the async, as I said. We've got the message handling, and all the different handshakes, the functions of a handshake, subscribe, and placing orders. We also have here, as I said, a risk manager. This is kind of new architecture. It tracks position P&L and the equity. It also has the risk logic as well. So you can set overall in your portfolio your max position, daily loss, drawdown, order, and the enforcement of risk alert. So there's different levels of that, of course. So again, you can set that within this risk manager, and then there's a TCP/IP that will log back into the server. Okay, so this is the initial um, logic order you go through. So you got startup, the server starts, connects to the backend, which is your Rithmic. Okay, then it connects once you launch the risk manager and the client code as well. Okay, or the executables because this is Windows. So there's that. So all the subscriptions get built, connected into the server from both the risk manager and the client, which has got your strategy code. And then there's a data flow where your backend sends the data, and then the server broadcasts all the connections and the status and all that. Then there's which I'll show you in a minute. And then there's the actual trading for both the market data and the orders as well. And then the risk manager basically observes everything and updates and checks things as you have this running. Let me show you what it looks like. So essentially, I have taken out the the sensitive things in my account for Rithmic. This is the server now that we're dealing with. So to run it, what you do here, and this is a usual set of arguments for any Rithmic API that you need. You need your user, your passcode, obviously um, the for your Rithmic account. This is the SSL folder where that certificate resides, and then you set your port that you want both the client and risk manager to connect into. So this is what it looks like when it launches. Okay. So when you set up your client, you're going to run obviously the client executable. This is kind of like what it looks like. And it has a sample order in here as well. And I did connect it into my live as well. So essentially it's using, as I said, ASIO. So it's connecting into the port 9100, which is local. You could port this over um, different servers if you want, but I keep it all local. Then it's accepted the connection and it's going to subscribe to the one um, instrument that's coded up in your client. And then that's going to be having the strategy code as well. So in this case, it's going to send out the order when market conditions are met. Then there's going to be a signal sent back, blah, 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 blah. So here in the risk manager, it's going to give you a report of what it's like a heartbeat check on as this thing's running. So obviously it's connecting into that port 9100. You can choose whatever port you want via an ID, and then it will again subscribe into whatever asset you're looking at. In this case, Nasdaq and uh, ES, which is the S&P 500. And this is the heartbeat that I'll put out. Risk summary, your P&L positions, current equity, peak equity, and drawdown. So that will continue as a heartbeat as well. That's pretty well it. Okay, so let me go back here. Um, so you can imagine what we've got here, a complete end-to-end system Um, this is can be high speed, high frequency trading, depending upon where it resides. I wouldn't go with high speed. That's, if the trend's against you, you can lose a lot of money here, especially if you're using options. That's all built in the client code as part of the strategy. I've gone on about that. This is just a general high level. Um, so the key components part here is a server into Rithmic and also serving up all the connection to both the risk manager and the client. I can obviously put in arguments or settings on how I want portfolio, how many positions to have, how much risk to take. So I can easily add that to those running components. That's pretty well it. Okay, so as you can imagine, um, based upon what we've got here, there's a couple of options if you want. Like I can't release this code, but um, if you want to just come to my website, quantlabsnet.com, join the email list. I don't release that info to anybody. You get your C++ ebook here. Um, a lot of people, I think 1,000 now people in the last year or so have downloaded that. Also, if you come under here, we do have a trial. You could test just to see how, if you like the style of what I put out for 1 week, and that's the rate currently right there, 47 at that level. If you want the coding, it is expensive, and let me explain why. So, um, let's put it's under plans here, under more plans. So I've mentioned about the quant analytics, but you can see here the price for this quant lead. This is expensive, obviously. The reason that is because I'm able to, and I am reaching now and getting followers on my LinkedIn, people from large firms, the Citadels, BlackRock, State Street, and the like. Okay. These are the decision makers. So I'm reaching them now. I found ways to reach these people. So as a result, what I'm doing is that's my target market. Okay. If you have serious capital behind you for the futures and options market with the CME, this is a great membership for you because I got over 240 AI generated projects here, both in C++ and Python. I will be putting out a much more affordable little course, but it'll be a template. I'll be doing that via a separate platform with Shopify. So I'm going to do that soon. I'll announce that separately. But that's to know about that. That's why you want to be on my email list or say like and subscribe to the video. All right. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.